second, and we'll see if Shanika is able to join or Craig, but we'll just go ahead and get started. We do not have quorum, so we will be skipping past the approval of minutes. The rest of the agenda will be getting AmeriCorps and legislative updates from Carrie on federal and state activities, go over any previous meetings, future meetings, action steps, and planning ahead for our in-person meeting later next month. Do we have any public comment? Okay, then Carrie, it's right over to you, my friend. Take it away.
All right, this is gonna feel like a lot of repetition considering like I just saw you all and
Yeah.
then we'll meet next week. But I do have some new things. So I'm just gonna cover some updates with like the multi-state lawsuit and grant making, some things that are going on organizationally and program wise, and then a little bit of an update on the state service plan development strategy, but with a focus on like the relation to this committee in particular. And so I would say with that part, maybe be thinking about how you think this committee could best be served and achieve its work within that framework. Is what's in the chat her email? Is that something I need to check, or is that just the email that our guest
Your
had?
email.
Okay.
Who was
Uh,
I know I was late, but who was our guest?
Someone from a Washington State workforce board. I think she got a little lost on the way to the
Oh,
WTDB meeting, maybe. But we had a good chat with her and learned about a program she participated in called VetCorps, which is like sort of a similar national service program, but for veterans in Washington State. So she was lovely. And Aaliyah's going to follow up with her.
cool. I saw that they were in MSW, which was really cool as well.
Oh, nice.
Oh. So multi-state lawsuits, one actually for us, the one that we're in, that is, there's a lot of them, but the one that I'll talk about here is our multi-state lawsuit, which is what was filed after the grant terminations in April. The most current status for that, and I think you probably heard about this in executive committee, but I'll say it again, is that OMB was added as a defendant. The preliminary injunction didn't do anything to reconcile the issue of the operating grants for commissions being withheld, because that was never part of what was originally terminated. So any sort of return to status quo didn't impact that. So OMB was added to that, and the latest filing was addressing that those withheld funds, which, as you know, it's one of our operating grants, the KIF, which is the funding that supports staffing and a lot of TTA activities, such as like kickoff and life after and program orientation and monitoring and a lot of different grant management TTA activities. And it is also not just one fund, not the only fund that's being withheld, but it's also AmeriCorps senior grants, national direct, competitive, etc. So I think since I last saw you, file an updated declaration at the DOJ's office, providing information on how we continue to be impacted with not receiving access to those funds, as well as collected a lot of information from other programs, senior programs and national direct programs, to express the impacts that are happening to them. In most cases, all of those programs are in shutdown mode. They have suspended activities of current volunteers and are unable to recruit new volunteers. The most recent activity then was that with I believe the next response date being September 4th. So just an example of like the way this works is not, it's not real fast. It's usually a couple of weeks in between every single, you file something, they get to respond in 2 weeks, then you file back in 2 weeks, then they were, then there might be like another hearing, then like a couple of months out. So not the fastest situation, but it does continue to move. The most recent filing that is public is that is related to lack of transparency around the spending plan and appropriated funds that was just filed today. So just a lot of that kind of back and forth going on. Nothing really new to share on that. But it does continue to impact us because of not receiving those funds. We can't hire our TTA position, our, which is like our outreach, community engagement position, does a lot of our marketing, social media, and so forth. Really terrible time to have, your presence sort of dwindle actually when you want to be more visible, sharing impacts of what you do. It is just causing a lot of issues with that, but we are and affecting obviously our capacity, but we're doing the best we can. We're still hosting our orientation for grantees and looking at alternative ways to meet some of our other obligations, but recognize the capacity and so forth. I think I'll kind of I'll circle back to that in a sec, but as far as grant making, I think I'll share this before that we did receive all of our formula and formula fix grant awards. We had one fixed grantee decline the funding. They did not have the staffing available anymore. They were laid off in the last round from the terminations and the timing it took to have that reinstated, and didn't have the capacity and support. We had two others from the competitives that we wanted to fund in our formula that also decided not to continue forward due to capacity and funding instability. We just received notice last week that another formula program is withdrawing due to capacity and unstable funding. Up until that point, we were not at risk of not being able to use all of our state allocation. But now we are likely not going to be able to use all of that, which unfortunately then means that we are returning federal funds as part of our state allocation. If we don't have anyone to apply for them, we can't just hold on to them indefinitely. And we are maxing out all of our options for placeholdering those funds until we can use them. So unfortunately, these are just the continued impacts of the federal actions. And I just want to say huge kudos to Madeline and Mackenzie, who are just, pivoting like nobody's business on a daily basis, and to address these issues as they're consistently popping up. And I don't want this to be like the biggest downer ever, but these are the realities of what's happening. And I think it's really important because I think it's, it all kind of lends to the idea of how do we sustain national service? How do we just sustain, how do we meet the call that regardless of what's going on with AmeriCorps and that funding, that people want to serve, people need these pathways to career, go to meet their career goals, to go to school and meet their educational goals. And I think when we get into the future of talking about legislative concepts and policy development, these are the kinds of things we're going to try to mitigate and address in the future. So that's kind of the lens I hope also to, that you're thinking of this is how do we take all these negatives and turn it into something moving forward and positives. So as I said, just a complete turnover really of our portfolio. So we said goodbye to a lot of long-term programs. Some of them have decided to just go on pause and they might come back. But we also are very excited about some programs that are very new to us that are in a position to start some programming and accept some grants. And we're really excited about that. We just want to make sure that we have all those resources in place to make them successful. So on that note, I am working with Miranda and some others to see how we can fill in some of the gaps. It looks like we're going to probably borrow some staffers from some other departments within OE to help us with some of that marketing and outreach piece. We're going to take advantage of some various resources and services through Ask. We are launching our Memory Fox account that I'm the lead on, and that we're going to try to really heavily use for campaigning and marketing and getting that set up and really empower others to use that. And we can, if you're not familiar with that, it's a It's where we can set up campaigns and prompts and send out links or QR codes, and people can essentially film short videos that come into like a landing page. Then we create story pages. We can embed those. We can push them out to social media for ourselves. We can send it back out to them. So it's a really easy way for them to create some content and ways of raise awareness of what they're doing. You can also do things like send that out, utilize it if people wanted to send in a public comment, they could send in a 2-minute video. If we want to use it for, state service plan outreach and surveying, people could use it for that. But what it really, really does is sort of shows like people, like boots on the ground, like this is what we're doing. And so hopefully that is going to be something that's going to, provide an easy way for, and a free service that will provide to grantees for them to really promote what they're doing and get some real visible, make what people are doing really visible. Then just some other stuff that we're going to get help with social media and some of our trainings and things like that. So then that just brings me up to what I wanted to share around the state plan strategy and what's going on with some of our other events that we're looking at and wondering how to move forward with those with such reduced capacity and just sort of an unknown about, are we going to get our operating grants? What's happening with AmeriCorps funding and programming. We know that they are continuing to award the formula funds and so forth. We did just get notice that they're not going to continue with the modernization. So we're going to be stuck with e-grants for a while. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad sign. I think it's smart that's we can get by with the old grant management system, and they need staff to focus on, these other things. So, but we do know that, they're continuing to award formula and move through those processes. So that's a good sign. But it is the case that because of these, the reduced funding that the states are receiving, the reduced portfolios, other state commissions are in the same boat. They've had a lot of people drop out for these various reasons. That means that ASK's funding income has also decreased. And because various things are based on, number of members or number of, there other types of trainings and things that they provide that a lot of people are being a lot more fiscally conservative and maybe not signing up for and so forth. So it is official that ASK had 8 staff and are now at 4, and those 4 remaining staff are taking salary reduction and on a furlough every Friday. The staff that were laid off were their marketing and communications person, their person that helped with all of the like emergency assistance funding set up and different things like that. All of their like conference and training help and all that sort of like organizational assistance. And then Casey, who we actually wanted to have at one of our next meetings, who was such an amazing resource for us when it comes to our educational visits and our policy development. And he was running, the state policy pros work group and things like that. So any quick questions before I keep going? I just like,
Does 100% of ASK's budget come from like federal pass-through dollars like you're talking about, or do they get any like private gifts?
I think they get private as well.
Okay.
Yeah, also congratulations, Daniel will be joining the ASK board.
Oh, exciting. Congratulations. I was going to ask if there was any updates about that.
I have to be voted in, but yes.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay, he's on
That's
the
awesome.
slate.
That's exciting.
So yeah, he'll have the budget documents in the future and we can ask him those questions. Yeah, I believe that they have private funds too. And so with all of that said, what I had pitched and what at the last meeting and what the latest update is that I did basically pitch to Kyra the idea of ask that, hey, we have like we're looking to kind of not like pull back a little bit on our spending on some of the our set aside for contracts and so forth out of our no cost extension operating grants so that we can stretch that longer because we don't know what's happening with the incoming ones. and could use some assistance. So she's working on a proposal right now, scope of work, but we did ask for assistance with event facilitation for a virtual kickoff. So registration, marketing, sort of like agenda, getting speakers and things like that. Since we didn't get the disaster services position in the last session, but we do still have responsibility to deploy national service members during an emergency response. We were really looking at ways to like shore up that capacity. So I've asked for a training series for all program grantee staff and incoming national service members to learn disaster services 101. So a little bit about like the history of AmeriCorps and disaster, and then basic, emergency response for them, so that they're prepared if a deployment did happen, that's not, the first like, what? What are we doing? And typically what they would do is assist with volunteer management with the local VOAD system and COAD systems. And so they're putting together a proposal for like a 3 session training series, virtual series, to happen in the month or 2 following kickoff. And that would be for all the members coming in, so that we can make sure that they're trained up on that. And then additionally, the big piece is the state service plan development and the policy development. And so they are in fact very interested to do that. She would this is something that they do quite a bit with other commissions, the state service plan development and facilitation. And so what I talked to her about is that, we know we have some incoming data points, and we'd like a little bit more, but we do have some things coming in that would enable us to, I think, be informed enough in order to do a 1-year addendum update to the state service plan, rather than engaging in a full 3-year, when, it just seems sort of like a little bit of not the smartest maneuver, when we're not really sure. We can't think 3 years ahead right now with not knowing fully the full landscape of what's going on. So
Carrie,
he felt that was really doable. Go ahead, sir.
Maybe you're going to answer this question, but if we're doing an addendum to the current instead of a new 3-year, do we have to do any sort of like voting on that, or like any sort of statutory?
No, I asked her about that. Like, she said that a 1-year is very that's
Okay.
very common that other state commissions do, that it's not going to be anything that AmeriCorps itself is going to care about. I don't think we really have to. I mean, I think, you all in executive committee gave the approval to pursue this. And so I think that we met that responsibility there. But I don't think we have to do any like kind of broader discussion or approval for that. But it would need to be approved at the end, like the final 1-year addendum or whatnot by the board, but by the commission board. But I also explained that, what we really want to come out of this discussion is not only maybe some goals, but some ideas for pursuing policy, especially knowing that like at the end of this year, the very basic kind of draft legislative concepts would be due to start circulating internally for, discussion and refinement, and possibly moving forward for the 2027 session. And she felt that that was something that could be done in a day, for that, like a 1-day board retreat, and that she would be willing to then, so the idea maybe being that, that would be the agenda. We would have that discussion. So we would like synthesize that data that would go out to like executive committee or a steering committee for like finalizing the state plan part. And then, probably series of meetings to maybe be approved at like a full January commission meeting. And then that she could do and built in some time for follow-up and public policy committee meetings through the rest of the year, like 2 more of those or something by the end of the year, to help with draft and facilitate and discuss like, so having that as a product, as a deliverable. And she felt that that was totally doable. The one thing that she did say is that September 26th doesn't work for her. So it is likely that we would want to put back out a poll on a date, maybe like the 2nd week of October or something like that, for that full day retreat. We could also, see about building in, if we need to, like some other short calls or something to accomplish this, maybe work with some other dates that already were scheduled. And that would also give us time for kind of getting some of the other data in. We know we have the Civic Health Index data, and I'm hoping to have more data from the NGA. And then she said that they can do a broad community survey as well, and publicize that to be able to get some more of that to come in. And so that'll be something that between now and then that we'll need to work with her on. So not real sure what that's going to look like yet. But she's expecting to get the scope to me either by like today or Monday. So we can start, going back and forth with that. So that's, I thought that was pretty exciting. I did send you all an email today on this committee with the thing about the KIF, but also you'll note that there was a scope of work for a contractor attached. I am not doing a full competitive RFP for that. It doesn't meet the requirements for that. I'm hoping to utilize contacts, people's network, to find someone that they think is a good fit that would be interested to do that research project for us. And we're a little behind on that because of the timing of how slow that project got started outside of our control, but also with the lawsuit stuff and things like that. So we're hoping to get that going pretty soon. I hope you can take a look at that. And if you have someone in mind, especially thinking about people that are in this, work that maybe have recently been laid off and stuff, or, and you think would be a great fit for that, please let me know as soon as you can. I, I'm really hoping we can get that started, because I think that research, with some of the focus groups that we're asking them to do and some of the assessment analysis that we're asking them to do, is going to really be really important for that policy development and that state plan development conversation. So sort of looking to time that a little bit better that way. But that's what it's looking like coming together. And so I'll sort of stop there. Let you digest that for a sec, but essentially, I guess what I would want to know is, does this sound like I'm setting up the policy committee for success for drafting legislative concepts?
Yeah, I think so, Carrie. Uh, yeah, I don't know that I have any other thoughts. It sounds great. Sounds like you've thought all about it a lot. Uh, and
It's a lot
I
of moving pieces.
right, exactly.
It's a lot of pivoting from over here too. It's a lot. It's new
Yeah,
information all the time.
okay. Yeah, sounds good. My only questions or thoughts are around the membership of this committee, with me touring out at the end of the year. But that's on the agenda to discuss for the in-person retreat. So
Daniel, do you want to think a little bit more and I'll answer something else, or do you want to have anything to say? Okay. I'll actually say really quick into a little bit of a membership update too in general for the commission. So we are bringing on 2 people during this next round of appointments. And then if you and Sneeka can stay till the end of the year, and then
yeah,
let's do like January for like going away or something, but because that's allowed. But we don't have anybody coming in and filling that. I have a third person that I've just learned I have to actually let them know that they have to wait to the next round, which applications are due September 5th for that one. So here's the dilemma. We are up against the 50% from one party rule.
oh, are we? Okay.
So we need local government, business, and works with disadvantaged youth filled. And we have hit 50% Democrats. Rest being other ones, some are undeclared, but we can't have more than one party. We can't have more than 50% of one party. So we need more. They will not appoint anybody else for me unless there is parity in that. And so I really am looking for recruitment for like independent working families, Republican, and so forth. If you have any thoughts, please let me know. I think that is sometimes challenging because of how divisive things are, but I know that is, I know that there are people who will meet our need. It's just, it is something that requires further research, further outreach, further relationship building, that beyond, sort of what I've been able to have the time for, but it's a priority. But if there's any assistance anybody can provide, you have any ideas, please let me know. Again, doesn't have to be Republican, doesn't have to be this, doesn't have to be that, just can't be Democrat.
Registered.
Or an unregistered.
Oh, can't be somebody unregistered. Okay. Okay.
No, like if you have 10 people and 5 openings and you have like 7 Democrats and 3 unregistered, even if you got like a couple more, you still, if you put like an 8th Democrat, you're still like over the 50. Do you know what I mean? That was bad math, but you get where I'm going with that.
Mhm.
I don't know if that actually added up, those numbers I just picked, but
Yeah.
you know where I'm going.
Yes. Can't have a majority of any party. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, please let me know. And I think that so the good news is if once those other 3 positions are filled, we'll have they will be able to fill out the committees and the other positions to backfill. But that's, yeah, just some ongoing, but yeah. And the Office of Appointments are great. They're helping with some as well. And I'm gonna look into additionally some cross service with other boards too. Daniel,
Okay.
did you have any comment on the?
No, the only comment I had on yours was I like the approach of like policy ideas, potential pops or LCs to come like organically through the work that you're already engaged in. That way it's like, oh, like we could pursue policy on this instead of just being like, what do we want to pursue? So yeah, I like that approach. And
Our wish list, yeah.
um yeah, we already have that. So I think yeah, this merging with that, it's like an organic way to like make things that are like reasonably maybe gonna happen because there's momentum. Um a comment, I think we're gonna talk about this, but as you chair out, I do think it would be, I mean, it's an open opportunity for anyone on the committee to chair, like, or on the commission to chair the committee, public policy committee. Um, I do think sometimes when you join, you come in with that like fresh energy, and knowing that some of the youth that are going to be joining the commission are like go-getters, I do potentially see like some of them taking that leadership, or maybe it's an opportunity for someone who's like joined the commission, now they have their rhythm and they're like, okay, I'm ready for more. But I definitely think someone is going to be interested to take it. And since we have you and Shanika till the end of the year, we can use that to our advantage to kind of share out like what the experience has been, what the commitment looks like, and if you're able and someone like is really interested, like connect with them like on one-on-one. Um,
And hopefully have some overlap.
yeah.
Some
And
quote
then
unquote
Yeah, so
onboarding.
the good news is I think when if we do this in October, we'll have the 2 new people there.
Okay.
and I think I mean there's nothing impeding us from doing this as well, but um if need be, like I'm always a fan of like shared leadership. So if someone's like, I want to do it, but I also don't want to be like the one in charge because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, what if who wants to buddy up and like do this together? Because we could have someone like co-chair a committee and it's like you lean on each other to like hold each other accountable, etc. But there's options to explore and we can see how we can need to make that happen so it lines up with like our bylaws or etc. But good to know on the recruiting. I'll be thinking, but I'm OregonServes #1 fan on LinkedIn and I repost everything that is reposted on there. I feel like a Facebook mom, but
I need to step up my posting too. I haven't posted in a little while. Yeah, I really appreciate what you're saying about that. A couple of thoughts around the policy draft too is this is where I'm trying to figure out timing, but so just this past Thursday, the HAC commission, the full commission, just put out, or Ben just put out his report on the strategies that they're going to prioritize for the HAC strategic plan. So the way that they did this is that they had their like strategic plan and they had the goals. And then and the strategies. And then they formed various teams, interoffice teams, and then said, like, come up with recommendations for initiatives for this, rather than doing that kind of like in the bigger like group or whatnot, or in the primary process. And then those groups came, you know, at kind of like different sections, like leadership and workforce and blah, 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 came back and said, here's like our initiatives or things that we think should happen. And then the executive team of the hack picked the ones that they wanted to move forward with, submitted that for approval to the hack commission. And so there's quite a few that actually are related to workforce, but a few of them that were really interesting to me that I think would want to maybe be part of this conversation in the future are where are have to do with like potential, you know, leveraging like other programs, doing a little bit more like partnering and co-enrollment and so forth. Um, and some additional like fund development, like emergency fund development and like scholarship fund development, like different things like that. And a bigger picture one that something that came out of that conversation yesterday in leadership team that I thought was really interesting was learning that in this past session that eligibility for the opportunity grant expanded, and they also expanded Pell Grant for certain like limited like workforce like programs. And I was like, oh, interesting. So does that mean that it's not just AmeriCorps now that gets like that education award equivalent to the Pell? And where does that look like? And you know, how where might is that mean that that's an opportunity that if we establish like more like, you know, an argument for like state core, that we could still bring in some sort of resource like that that is similar to what AmeriCorps does, so that there's like some parity there. Like just some really interesting stuff came out of that. But I think knowing how things are going now, how they went last session and how it might go in 2027, it's very competitive funding wise. And I know that a lot of our policy proposals have had to do with funding and positions. And it might be that we're more in a position to see more success with things that don't have a big price tag if we want to see them move forward. And it might be looking into additional things like the hiring priority or other types of benefits that could shore up service. But I don't know, you know, we really want to see or things that are, you know, addressing like service to career pathway and maybe being more listed as, you know, listed as further eligible parties within other bills where there is funding, you know, being in, you know, the bill that, let's say, for example, like OHA gets on like, you know, mental health, behavioral health task force, just, you know, really seeing where we could maybe like do some of that and just be a little bit more creative as to how we're getting resources rather than straight, like, we need more funding, more positions, because that hasn't really gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to be rolling in the dollars in 2027.
No.
Outlook's going to look any better.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. I think that's a smart way to think about it. And I'm glad to hear that HEC has already released their strategy, because that means that we can sort of like keep that in the back of our head and make sure that whatever PALTs or LCs that we're creating or strategies that we're creating are not matched to HEC because we're different agencies, but are in line with HEC so that they are interested in picking up some of the things that we're proposing in their final package. That's really helpful, Carrie. And also 2027, I mean, this is sort of moot because we'll have to have submitted our drafts before this, but 2027 will be after the midterm. So things might even be even more different than we're anticipating now, especially when it comes to funding.
When's our next governor's election?
I have no idea. I'm ashamed to say, I don't know what our terms are. Is it 4 years for a governor?
Just right out of my head.
It's every 4 years, but
is it 4 years?
Why do I feel like we just had a governor election? But I think I saw news headlines that it's next year.
It's next year. Yeah, I want to say.
Is it? Why did I think it was the fall of 2027?
Let's see.
Someone, hey Siri, that
2020.
November 26th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's always interesting, right?
Yeah.
That actually the previous session, I mean, that was the situation is, yeah, we kind of went, yeah, I mean, definitely like their priorities switched rapidly from what we submitted in November to when new governor came on, then prior to that, what was that, 2023 session? And you don't really get to switch a whole lot. So I think that being pretty nimble and, whatnot, this year will be really important. As will be, really increasing, legislative sponsorship. I just had another thought I was going to share that I lost for a second there. Let me look at my notes really quick. Oh, with these dates changing, I'm thinking of still keeping September 26th, but as a short, like, virtual meeting, just to sort of maybe do some of the things that we would not have time to do if we really want to take advantage of the entire all-day meeting in October. So that might be that I would want to look at maybe using that as almost like a preliminary meeting to share out like data that might be good to have for the following one, as well as maybe some approval of the things that we wanted to get approved ahead of time, like some handbook stuff or things like that.
I think that's smart.
The training needs survey, the satisfaction survey, this and that.
Since that's already on people's calendars, and if there are any folks who are unable to make it in person, they can hop into the virtual to take care of some of those admin level things. Yeah, I think that's smart.
So while I have you all on here, I know we have an exec committee meeting next week, which I think was mainly going to be some of the updates that I just gave. But I'll have Kyra's proposal by then. Okay. Maybe Sierra, with the letter that you sent me, does that need to get sent back out to the exec, or was that for me to circulate internally again? Did you all look at that?
To circulate internally.
Okay.
Yeah, the changes that I made are incredibly minor to modernize it and remove some of the dates and that sort of stuff. So yeah, so that's ready to go to legal.
Yeah. So I may send out the access to some of those docs for you all to just take a quick look at, if a cursory look in case you make sure you don't have any issues with them. I think that we do need to do some work on figuring out what does need to go before the exec and what doesn't, but something that I'm thinking about as well, in time. I would be curious of your all's opinion on this, based as, both being on both committees, that one and this one, on, there's a lot of updates to be done to the bylaws regarding, like expanding our ex officio positions or different things around like roles and responsibility. I don't like to get too prescriptive because that reduces flexibility, but there are some things that I think would be good to call out, and there's some corrections needed. And I'm curious, as public policy members, do you think that is something that should wait until after the strategic planning and things like that are done? Is there something that could be impactful to that, or does it seem like negligible? Like, can't imagine what out of that would impact, positions we would want to expand on, or like how committees are run, or if we wanted a new committee, or we could always update it, but typically at retreat time, we would do stuff like that.
My immediate gut reaction, and I'm not sure if I actually strongly, but my immediate gut reaction was to say wait until after, on the off chance that during the strategic planning we come across something related to the bylaws. But I don't know. I'm curious what you think.
I'm on the fence as well.
Yeah. What do you think, Daniel?
I'm trying to think of how one influences the other.
Yeah.
I might be overthinking it.
But if we also if we plan to do elections, nomination, voting, etc., of commission leadership at the October meeting, could it be the case that any of the bylaw adjustments that you're talking about would impact that? Therefore, we should do it first?
No, I don't think so. Or minor.
And maybe if there's no strong opinion immediately emerging, maybe the answer is whatever your time and capacity allows.
Mm. Yeah, I was just curious. This came up yesterday. Obviously, I won't make a decision because that wasn't an agenda vote thing.
Yeah.
I was just curious feedback on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something if I was something I was overlooking, but I'll think about it. I'll probably get back to you all on next week in that meeting. Yeah, I think that was all of my updates.
Okay. One thing that I wanted to note that I just noticed is that we adjusted the time of this from 1 p.m. And the agenda still has that it starts at noon, so the timing is all an hour off. It says at the top that the meeting is from 1 to 2, but the times throughout the agenda, 12 p.m. meeting call to order.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Um,
I didn't even catch that. Thanks for noticing that.
yeah. Any other comments, questions about all of the state, federal commission stuff that Carrie said? Okay. We do not have another public policy committee meeting before the retreat. Is that correct? Okay.
No, which might be needed to have one as a like for a strategic discussion or any sort of like kind of homework.
I was going to suggest that as you and the team and the executive committee are building out the agenda, that once that's finalized,
Yeah,
maybe we get something else scheduled, even if it's just a quick get together. I think something between now and October would be helpful for this
I
committee,
think so too.
especially since Shanika and Craig can't be here right now.
Yeah, and I'll have an update hopefully that the update from Kyra, the scope of work from Kyra, I think will give us a better idea too on like how we might want to like do some prep time. Definitely there will be data to share for sure, both coming in from them and um what I think what we already have. I don't think it wouldn't require any kind of public meeting. It wouldn't be like a serial communication or anything for Kyra to like call you all individually. To not she can't have you together, but to call you individually and maybe do some like questionnaires with you all too around sort of like what your thoughts are. That could help her with some of that like agenda development.
Okay.
How to approach, making sure we meet that deliverable from that day.
Mm-hmm. You say she can't meet with us together. Does that mean that she couldn't come to an executive committee meeting?
No, she can, but that's a public meeting. I was saying like if
Oh,
she was going to do follow-up
I
to
see.
discuss things with you all, like she can't do that as like like bring you all together as a group.
Right.
And
Got you.
as I understand it. That's
Right.
one of the things I think we're going to use a little bit of time in September for as well, is going over some of those new things that have come out around serial communication and the public meeting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially since we have new members coming on board.
Yeah.
Be helpful. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other business for the good of the order?
I don't think so. You all ready for the
Wow.
next 4 days?
Ugh, no. No.
I'm getting ready to go camping this evening. So
Yeah.
we're fingers crossed it isn't too bad.
Hopefully under like a lot of tree shade next to a lake.
Yeah, next to a river. So
Where?
next to water,
Oh,
luckily.
okay, good.
Yeah. Stay cool.
Daniel, what's the weather supposed to be like in Redmond or Bend or whatnot?
All I've heard is hot, but let's see. I also just came back from Puerto Rico, so
Oh,
but it's different because over there it's humid hot.
yeah.
Here it's like dry heat, especially
Yeah.
here in the high desert in Central Oregon. So
How was Puerto Rico?
I didn't want to come back.
I bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
The island does something to you.
Yeah.
I imagine.
But it was, and I I went to a concert and I went all over the island, and yeah, I will be back. It looks like we're high 90s. We're not gonna hit 100, at least in Redmond. So hot, just hot.
Nice for you.
Yeah,
They're predicting like
We're-
103, I think.
it's 100 today, 100 tomorrow, and then like 98 or 96
Oh,
or
okay, it
something
went
for
down.
like 2 days after that. I'm doing hygiene kit and water distribution volunteering with a group tomorrow at 10 a.m. And it's supposed to be, well, they assume we'll just run out of stuff by like noon or something, which is when I will then slink home and get in front of the fan, because I imagine that's just when it's probably going to get really hot too. But so hopefully we are able to reach a lot of people.
Yeah, that's great, Carrie. Well, stay cool, everybody. And I'm gonna give you 7 minutes of your day back, and we're gonna wrap the meeting at 1:53 p.m. And I'll see you all, this team again, next Friday for executive committee.
No,
Or
I
next
think it's like Tuesday.
Tuesday, whatever,
Tuesday.
next week.
Is it Wednesday? I'll
Is
see
it
you
Wednesday? I think it might be. You know
Wednesday.
what? Just pick a day. We'll see.
See you next week.
See who
you
shows up.
Wednesday.
It'll be a surprise. Yeah, I think it's Wednesday though.
All right.
Take care,
All
everybody.
right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Wednesday.